Atsushi can see exactly how much every person likes him, and he has built his entire life around exploiting those numbers. But then a girl he believed had died 15 years ago returns with a marriage form in her hands and a love score so enormous that his ability can barely display it. From that moment on, every lie, every girlfriend, and every safe corner of his life begins collapsing around one terrifying yandere. Years earlier, a lonely boy named Atsushi met Sakura beneath a blooming cherry tree. She adored him with the innocent certainty only a child could have, and the two promised that when they grew up, they would meet again and get married. Atsushi treated it like a sweet childhood memory. Sakura treated it like a contract that could never expire. As an adult, Atsushi possesses an unusual gift he calls the mind eye. Whenever he looks at someone, he can see a number representing that person's favor toward him. A low score means distrust, while a high score means affection. Instead of using this power responsibly, Atsushi turns it into the perfect tool for manipulating everyone around him. He knows exactly when to smile, when to apologize, and when to pull away. With a few carefully chosen words, he can raise someone's number and make them believe he understands them better than anyone else. Atsushi has no stable job and very little money, but his ability allows him to survive comfortably by depending on women who think they are special to him. One of those women is Emi, a serious university student who believes Atsushi is the only person capable of accepting her. Another is Yumeno, a glamorous hostess with enough money to support his lifestyle. He also maintains a secret connection with the young idol Ruruna. None of them realizes how many other women are standing in the same line. Then a news report drags Atsushi back to the past. Sakura was supposedly killed in an accident when they were children, and the memory still occupies a strange place in his heart. He tells himself she was only a childhood friend. Yet the promise beneath the cherry tree is one of the few relationships he remembers without attaching a number or a financial benefit to it. After remembering Sakura's death, Atsushi returns to the comfortable adult life he has built for himself. He is in bed with Yumeno, one of the women who supports him both financially and emotionally. Their relationship is already physical, and she trusts him completely. The contrast is revealing. Atsushi's most painful memory is immediately followed by the kind of intimacy he now uses to convince himself that he finally controls his own happiness. As Atsushi and Yumeno sleep together, his thoughts remain focused on the strange power he gained after the childhood accident. To him, intimacy is not only about desire, it is proof that the mind eye works, that he can read affection, say exactly what a woman needs to hear, and create relationships in which rejection becomes almost impossible. Even during their most private moment, Atsushi silently describes the world he wants to build, a personal paradise filled with people who will never deny or betray him. Yumeno believes they are sharing something sincere, while Atsushi is also watching her emotions like a system he must maintain. His affection may be real in its own way, but control is always part of it. Afterward, Yumeno looks at Atsushi and tells him that she loves him. Her favor score reaches 95. Confirming that her feelings are genuine even if his motives are complicated. This defines their relationship. Yumeno sees Atsushi as a man she truly loves, while he sees her love as comfort, protection, and another essential pillar of the paradise he has carefully constructed. That evening, Atsushi notices a girl in a white dress following him. She moves with unsettling familiarity, closes the distance, and calls his name as though they separated only yesterday. When he finally sees her face, the impossible becomes real. Yokaze Sakura is standing in front of him, alive, smiling, and completely certain that he has been waiting for her. Atsushi activates his mind eye and expects a normal affection score. Instead, the number stretches across his vision. 100,096,000. No person has ever come close to such a value. Sakura's love is not simply intense, it is so far beyond ordinary emotion that Atsushi cannot understand whether he is looking at devotion, madness, or both. Sakura produces an official marriage registration form, with both of their names prepared. She reminds him of the promise they made 15 years ago and asks him to complete it immediately. Atsushi tries to laugh the situation away, but Sakura's expression makes one thing clear. She did not return to reconnect with an old friend. She returned to collect the husband she believes already belongs to her. By the next morning, Sakura has already entered Atsushi's apartment and made herself at home. She cleans, sorts his belongings, and behaves like a newlywed wife without asking permission. Atsushi is less disturbed by the invasion itself than by how naturally she performs it, as though she has rehearsed this domestic life with him for years. Sakura even handles his laundry and personal clothing, turning breakfast into an embarrassing confrontation. Atsushi attempts to establish boundaries, but every objection sounds meaningless beside her impossible affection score. She listens with a bright smile, then continues doing exactly what she wants because, in her mind, a wife does not need permission to care for her husband. Meanwhile, Emi faces a crisis. Private information from her hidden social media account has been leaked, threatening her reputation at university. Atsushi immediately recognizes an opportunity to prove his value. By reading the favor numbers of the women around her and watching how those values change, He identifies the people responsible for spreading the material. Atsushi corners the offenders with information of his own. He never raises his voice. He simply reveals enough of their secrets to make resistance feel impossible. To Emi, he appears like a calm protector who saved her at the perfect moment. In reality, he is doing what he always does, using fear and affection as numbers he can calculate. Sakura secretly watches Emi from a distance. She sees another woman depending on Atsushi and immediately understands the threat. Unlike Atsushi, Sakura does not need numbers to recognize romantic competition. Her smile remains gentle, but the atmosphere around her changes the instant Emi touches the man Sakura has already decided to marry. Back at the apartment, Sakura appears in a deliberately intimate home outfit and asks Atsushi to relax around her. The situation becomes painfully awkward as she leans closer and treats physical closeness as another normal part of married life. Atsushi keeps retreating, not because he dislikes her appearance, but because every affectionate gesture feels like a trap closing around him. Atsushi checks Sakura's score again, hoping it may have fallen after his rejection. It has not moved. She can be ignored, embarrassed, or ordered away, yet her love remains fixed at the same impossible level. For the first time, Atsushi faces someone his power cannot guide him through. Sakura does not respond to manipulation because there is nowhere higher for her devotion to go. Sakura's return soon reveals an even more disturbing mystery. Her body does not behave like an ordinary human body, and she can appear in places she should never be able to reach. When Raruna becomes involved, Sakura's jealousy turns the encounter into something far more frightening than a confrontation between romantic rivals. Raruna is confused by the strange girl who speaks as though Atsushi is already married. Sakura, however, studies her with open hostility. She does not care about Raruna's fame or popularity. All she sees is another beautiful girl receiving Atsushi's attention, and that alone is enough to make Raruna an enemy. Atsushi tries to calm Sakura by invoking their childhood promise. He explains that the adult world is complicated, and that marriage cannot happen simply because two children agreed to it. Sakura listens carefully, but rather than abandoning the idea, she asks what practical obstacle is preventing them from completing the form. He makes the mistake of telling her the truth. His life depends on money from other women. Rent, food, debts, and university expenses all come from relationships he has cultivated. Atsushi believes this explanation will prove that marriage is impossible. Sakura hears only that money is the final barrier standing between them. Soon afterward, armored vehicles carrying enormous sums of cash are attacked. The robber moves with inhuman speed and leaves police unable to explain what happened. Atsushi watches the report in disbelief, already knowing who is responsible. Sakura has decided that if her future husband needs money, then stealing hundreds of millions of yen is simply an act of support. Sakura returns proudly and presents the stolen fortune as though she brought home groceries. She expects praise for removing Atsushi's financial burden. Instead, he realizes she has connected him to a crime large enough to dominate national news. Her affection has stopped being merely uncomfortable. It now has the power to destroy every part of his life. Even when Atsushi scolds her, Sakura insists that she acted for their happiness. She cannot understand why laws or victims should matter more than their promised future. Her enormous love score remains unchanged, showing that guilt, fear, and common morality have almost no influence over the one goal guiding her existence. The stolen money appears inside Atsushi's apartment, forcing him to hide evidence while continuing his normal relationships. Every knock at the door feels like the police, and every visit from one of his girlfriends risks exposing both the cash and Sakura. His carefully organized paradise begins turning into a room full of traps. Sakura remains cheerful through the crisis. She believes the money proves her usefulness and cannot understand why Atsushi refuses to celebrate. When he demands that she stop committing crimes, she treats the order like a temporary disagreement between spouses, rather than a moral boundary that must never be crossed again. The robbery series continues, and the media begins connecting the incidents through Sakura's strange behavior and the affectionate messages she leaves behind. The criminal appears less interested in wealth than in declaring love. Atsushi hears his own name hidden inside the reports, and realizes Sakura is effectively writing a public confession addressed to him. Atsushi deliberately turns his attention to Emi. He asks her to remove her sunglasses, compliments her brown eyes, and watches her favor score rise to 97. The words sound romantic, but he also has a hidden reason for bringing her home. If Sakura's mind-in requires eye contact, provoking her jealousy may reveal whose body she chooses to possess. At Emi's apartment, the two of them have sex while Atsushi deliberately leaves the window open. Emi believes they are finally reconnecting after a frightening period, and her desire for him is completely genuine. Atsushi returns her affection, but part of his attention remains fixed on the possibility that Sakura is watching them. Emi asks Atsushi to stay longer and makes it clear that she wants them to be intimate again before he leaves. For her, the night is reassurance that he still wants her. For Atsushi, it has become part romance and part trap. He expects Sakura's jealousy to force her into Emi's body, allowing him to observe mind indirectly. When Atsushi finally leaves, Emi is satisfied and asks to see him again the next day. But Sakura never appeared. He realizes that he used Emi's feelings and exposed her to danger without learning anything. The failed test also suggests that Sakura may be watching from somewhere he cannot detect. Sakura denies killing the woman, yet her denial offers little comfort. Atsushi knows she is capable of extreme violence, and he has no reliable way to measure honesty. For the first time, he begins considering that someone else may be using Sakura's crimes as camouflage for a separate plan. A creepy song and loving message linked to the robbery spread across the investigation. To the public, the criminal sounds like a deranged admirer. To Atsushi, every word feels personal. Sakura has transformed their childhood promise into a national spectacle, and now a murderer may be hiding behind the chaos she created. While Atsushi struggles to conceal the money, life inside the condominium becomes increasingly complicated. The building owner's wife, Remy, and the temporary concierge, Kyuko, begin appearing around him more often. Their curiosity makes every trip through the hallway dangerous, because one wrong conversation could lead directly to Sakura or the stolen cash. Ruina's manager and entertainment journalist, Yuki Yonemura, is also investigating Atsushi. She has noticed how many unusual events connect to the same unemployed college student, and refuses to accept coincidence. Unlike the women Atsushi usually manipulates, Yuki approaches him as a possible story, rather than a romantic target. Another report confirms that the burned woman was not an isolated rumor. The police now treat the robbery and homicide as connected cases. Sakura's childish love song appears again, making her look like the obvious culprit. Atsushi understands that if investigators reach his apartment, both he and every woman supporting him will be dragged into the scandal. A threatening message arrives telling Atsushi that he would be better off dead. The sender knows enough about his situation to frighten him, yet the hostility does not resemble Sakura's possessiveness. Someone else is watching him, and that person may understand how useful Sakura's crimes are as a distraction. Atsushi decides that hiding is no longer enough. He must locate Sakura, determine the truth about the murder, and control the investigation before the police do. The plan is reckless, but his entire life has been built on staying one step ahead of other people's emotions. Now he must do the same while surrounded by a yandere, a killer, and increasingly suspicious detectives. Sakura interprets his determination in the most romantic way possible. She believes Atsushi is finally taking responsibility for their future together. While he sees her as the center of a criminal emergency, she sees them as partners overcoming obstacles before marriage. Their completely different understanding of the same situation makes every conversation more dangerous. To access the condominium's security records, Atsushi turns his attention to Kyo. He knows she admires Ruruna, so he offers just enough contact with the idol to earn cooperation. The exchange creates several awkward moments as Kyo becomes excited, and Atsushi pretends the favor is harmless, even though he is using her access to investigate a major crime. Kyuko eventually provides the emergency key and footage Atsushi needs. He watches the recordings for signs of Sakura and the unknown murderer, carefully comparing times, vehicles, and visitors. His mind eye cannot solve a camera record, but his habit of studying people makes him unusually effective at spotting behavior others overlook. Atsushi finally confronts Sakura and directly accuses her of killing the burned woman. Her reaction is immediate and genuine. She admits the robberies without hesitation, yet insists she never murdered anyone. The distinction sounds absurd, but her confusion convinces Atsushi that the homicide was added by someone else. The realization changes everything. A separate criminal used Sakura's spectacular robberies to hide a personal murder, expecting police to merge the cases. Sakura is dangerous, but she is also being framed. Atsushi now has a reason to protect her that goes beyond self-preservation, though he refuses to admit it. Detective Yamanouchi begins taking a personal interest in the case. He is brilliant, reckless, and motivated as much by excitement as justice. He notices inconsistencies in the official theory and starts circling Atsushi, whose lies are polished enough to survive ordinary questions, but not the curiosity of someone who enjoys breaking people. Atsushi realizes he is trapped between two investigations. The police want Sakura, while the real murderer wants the robbery story to remain believable. If he exposes one side too early, the other may destroy him. His only option is to manipulate both while keeping Sakura close enough to control. Sakura is delighted by the arrangement. Living near Atsushi and helping him investigate feels like the married partnership she always imagined. She promises to follow his instructions, but the promise comes with a dangerous condition. Anyone who seriously harms Atsushi may still become a target she decides to remove on her own. During a brief pause in the investigation, Yumeno surprises Atsushi with an intimate gift and turns an ordinary visit into an awkward domestic comedy. She enjoys watching him lose the confidence he normally uses around women. For once, Atsushi cannot rely on favor numbers or clever timing. He simply has to survive Yumeno teasing him at close range. The playful scene also reminds Atsushi what he is risking. Yumeno believes their relationship is special and continues supporting him without knowing about Sakura, the robberies, or the other women. Her affection gives him comfort, yet it also becomes another chain connecting innocent people to his increasingly dangerous secrets. Atsushi spends so much time reviewing evidence that he begins neglecting Emi. When he finally sees her again, her favor score has fallen. The number bothers him more than he expects. At first, he treats the problem like routine maintenance. But Emmy's disappointment forces him to recognize that she has been waiting for a person, not a calculated performance. He invites Emi out and tries to repair the relationship with a simple date. Their conversation is stiff, and both struggle to say what they actually mean. Atsushi knows the exact number above her head, yet the information cannot tell him how to apologize without sounding manipulative. The outing becomes unexpectedly sweet as they share food, walk together, and slowly recover their old rhythm. Emi is easily embarrassed by physical closeness, while Atsushi keeps noticing how different she is from the confident women he usually depends on. The awkwardness makes the relationship feel more genuine than the polished romance he normally manufactures. Atsushi learns that Emi's discomfort around men comes from painful experiences in her past. He realizes he was drawn to her partly because he recognized the same isolation he once felt as a child. That connection does not excuse his lies, but it explains why her opinion affects him more deeply than an ordinary favor score. Emi admits that she wants to trust him even when his behavior makes no sense. Atsushi promises to handle the problems surrounding him and asks her to wait. The reconciliation raises her number again, but this time the change leaves him uneasy. He has received her faith without giving her the truth. Their quiet moment ends when Detective Yamanouchi appears. He has followed Atsushi and asks about a girl in a white dress. The detective's casual smile hides a sharp accusation. He already knows Sakura exists, and he wants to see how many lies Atsushi will tell before one of them breaks. Atsushi denies everything he can, but Yamanouchi clearly enjoys the game. He does not arrest him because uncertainty is more entertaining. As the detective walks away, Atsushi understands that the police investigation has become personal. Yamanouchi is no longer simply following evidence. He is hunting Atsushi for the pleasure of seeing what is underneath the mask. Yamanouchi catches Atsushi contradicting himself about Sakura. Rather than exposing the lie immediately, he uses it to tighten pressure. He asks to question Emi, knowing that threatening one of Atsushi's supporters may force a reaction the man cannot hide. Atsushi warns Emi not to speak with the detective and gives her only enough information to make the request sound reasonable. Emi agrees, but the secrecy increases her anxiety. Every attempt to protect his relationships now requires another lie, and each lie gives Yamanouchi more material to use. The detective is not motivated by normal duty. He has a reputation for acting alone, ignoring procedure, and chasing cases that stimulate him. Atsushi recognizes a dangerous similarity between them. Both men treat people like pieces on a board, except Yamanouchi has a badge and the freedom to call his cruelty an investigation. Yamanouchi visits Yumeno's club and begins questioning her in front of the staff. He sings Sakura's strange love song and asks how much money Yumeno has given Atsushi. The performance is intentionally humiliating, designed to make her doubt the man she supports. Yumeno refuses to betray Atsushi. When Yamanouchi threatens to take her to the station, the club staff removes him. Her loyalty protects Atsushi for the moment, but it also proves to the detective that these women will accept extraordinary behavior for his sake. After failing with Yumeno, Yamanouchi changes targets. He approaches Emi at the university and offers to reveal Atsushi's hidden life. Atsushi realizes the detective is dismantling his Paradise one relationship at a time, searching for the woman whose trust will collapse first. Later, Emi asks Atsushi for a private night together and brings him to a love hotel. She is embarrassed but determined, clearly hoping that physical closeness will reassure her that their relationship is still real. Atsushi agrees, even though the investigation has made it almost impossible for him to relax. Emi goes to shower while Atsushi waits on the bed. The situation should be intimate, but his mind is filled with Sakura, the police, and the stolen 300 million yen hidden at his home. Emi is preparing to be vulnerable with him, while he is mentally somewhere else. Atsushi admits to himself that he mainly followed Emi's request because refusing would damage their relationship. He cannot calm down enough to enjoy the moment, showing how mechanical his romances have become. Even a night at a hotel is another emotional balance he feels responsible for maintaining. Before Emi returns, Yumeno contacts him with urgent news. A detective has arrived at her club and is asking questions about the Minato ward case. The separate women in Atsushi's life are beginning to collide, and the crisis reaches him at the worst possible moment. Atsushi immediately gets dressed and prepares to leave. Emi steps out of the shower and realizes their night is over before it ever truly began. She does not yet understand why another problem has taken priority, but the interruption leaves her confused and rejected. Exactly the kind of emotional crack Atsushi normally works so hard to prevent. Yamanouchi returns to the club and pushes harder. He asks whether Yumeno is financing Atsushi, whether she knows about other women, and whether the robbery money passed through him. Each question is phrased to make her feel foolish for trusting someone who may be exploiting her. Yumeno remains calm and covers for Atsushi. She knows he depends on her, but she refuses to let a stranger define the relationship. Her loyalty frustrates Yamanouchi, who expected jealousy to do the work for him. Atsushi arrives and finds the detective already inside his personal life. He maintains a confident expression, but the numbers around Yumeno reveal how much pressure she is hiding. He removes her from the confrontation before Yamanouchi can create a permanent crack between them. Unable to break Yumeno, Yamanouchi meets Emi in secret. He tells her that Atsushi lives from money provided by several women and frames every kindness as calculated manipulation. The accusation is close enough to the truth that Atsushi cannot dismiss it without exposing even more. Atsushi begins avoiding everyone and claims he is sick. The lie buys time, but it also isolates the women who care about him. As their messages accumulate, he realizes his old method of keeping relationships separate is no longer possible. Sakura, the murderer, and Yamanouchi have connected every part of his life. Atsushi reviews the women around him and sees how jealousy could destroy everything. Emi, Yumeno, Ruruna, and Sakura each believe they hold a special position. For years he managed those expectations with perfect timing. Now one obsessive childhood friend and one relentless detective are forcing all four worlds toward the same collision. Yamanouchi secretly brings Emi into his car and reveals more of Atsushi's hidden relationships. He speaks like a concerned officer, but his real goal is emotional damage. Emi's favor number shifts as doubt enters the place where trust used to be. The detective then creates compromising-looking evidence, positioning Emi so that photographs could be used against both of them. He plans to turn her fear into leverage and force Atsushi to cooperate. Emi realizes too late that the man claiming to protect her is using the same manipulative methods he accused Atsushi of using. Sakura suddenly appears through another person's body. Her ability, Mind In, allows her consciousness to enter and control someone after eye contact. She has been watching the situation, and seeing Emi hurt for Atsushi's sake triggers the same violent devotion she directs toward romantic rivals. Sakura attacks Yamanouchi with terrifying speed. She explains that hurting the girls around Atsushi is the same as hurting Atsushi himself. Her logic is possessive but strangely protective. The women may be rivals, yet they are still part of the world that keeps her beloved happy. Yamanouchi finally understands that the girl he is hunting is not limited by a single face or body. Anyone nearby could become Sakura. The discovery excites him almost as much as it frightens him, because he has found a mystery far beyond an ordinary robbery case. Sakura takes the detective away before Atsushi can intervene. When he learns what happened, he knows she will not simply frighten Yamanouchi. The man threatened Atsushi's paradise, and Sakura has decided to punish him in a way he will never forget. Yamanouchi wakes inside an abandoned hospital, restrained and surrounded by medical equipment. Sakura has chosen a place connected to her own painful memories. She speaks softly while preparing needles, making the scene more disturbing than if she were shouting. The torture begins as Sakura calmly explains that the detective made Atsushi suffer. She does not see herself as cruel. In her mind, every wound is a fair repayment for the emotional damage he caused. Yamanouchi's confidence finally cracks when he realizes she genuinely intends to continue until he dies. Atsushi tracks them down because he deliberately sent Sakura the message that Yamanouchi was hurting him. He used her obsession as a weapon, knowing she would appear wherever his pain seemed greatest. The plan succeeds, but the sight of the detective's condition shows how little control Atsushi truly has over the weapon he activated. He orders Sakura to stop before she kills Yamanouchi. She obeys reluctantly, disappointed that Atsushi does not appreciate her devotion. The moment reveals their unstable partnership. Sakura will follow his direct command, but only after interpreting every silence according to her own violent idea of love. Atsushi turns the situation into leverage. He tells Yamanouchi to conceal information, obstruct the official investigation, and keep Sakura's ability secret. If the detective betrays them, Sakura will return. The threat is effective, because Yamanouchi has experienced exactly what that return would mean. Yamanouchi agrees, and later lies to his superiors. Atsushi has transformed a dangerous investigator into a forced collaborator. Yet the arrangement does not make him safe. The detective still enjoys the game. Sakura remains unpredictable, and the real murderer is moving freely while everyone focuses on the robbery. As they leave, Atsushi casually tells Yamanouchi to take care of him from now on. The detective laughs through his injuries. Both understand that their partnership is built on blackmail and terror, but each believes he may eventually find a way to turn it against the other. For a moment, Atsushi imagines what ordinary cohabitation should look like. A beautiful partner waking beside him, playful intimacy in the morning, and a peaceful home shared by two people who understand each other. It is the kind of domestic fantasy Sakura wants him to accept as their inevitable future. Reality is far less comfortable. Atsushi wakes and finds Sakura lying across the bed, staring at him with a delighted smile. She admits that she stayed awake all night watching him because she refused to let him out of her sight. Sharing a bedroom may look romantic, but for Atsushi it feels like sleeping beside a guard who is also completely obsessed with him. He tries to study the limits of Mind In. Sakura explains that eye contact allows her to enter another body, though distance and exhaustion affect how long she can remain. Atsushi listens like a strategist, while Sakura enjoys the attention as though he is asking about her hobbies. Atsushi writes Emi a letter asking her to wait until the investigation ends. He cannot safely meet her, and he still refuses to reveal the full truth. The message preserves their connection but also shows how far his life has moved from ordinary romance. Yamanouchi provides a list of suspects connected to the burned woman's death. Atsushi compares their motives, vehicles, and relationships. The evidence confirms that the homicide was planned separately and then attached to Sakura's robbery pattern. Atsushi begins using both of his dangerous allies. Yamanouchi investigates through police channels, while Sakura can enter places and people no detective could access. When either one resists, Atsushi reminds them what the other is capable of doing. The investigation points toward wealthy figures who attended the same social circles as the victim. Atsushi realizes the murderer may have enough influence to manipulate police and media coverage. Catching that person will require entering a world where money and reputation matter more than evidence. He decides to create a public scoop that separates the murder from Sakura's robberies. The plan could clear one accusation, while exposing every other crime surrounding them. Sakura is thrilled to help, because each new danger gives her another reason to remain permanently beside Atsushi. A short domestic interruption turns the apartment into another awkward comedy. Sakura attempts to behave like the perfect partner while a visitor threatens to notice that something is wrong. Atsushi must hide evidence, control the conversation, and prevent Sakura from announcing their marriage plans to someone who has no idea she exists. Once the danger passes, Sakura expects praise for following his instructions. She presses close and asks for a reward, making Atsushi more nervous than the visitor did. Even the quiet moments of their cohabitation feel like negotiations with a girl whose idea of affection has no safe upper limit. Atsushi accompanies Yumeno to an exclusive financial gathering where several murder suspects will appear. He dresses for the wealthy crowd and plays the role of a harmless companion, while Sakura follows through the body of an adult woman who can move without attracting attention. The party becomes a maze of favor numbers, false smiles, and business deals. Atsushi studies how each guest reacts to the victim's name. Sakura becomes visibly jealous whenever another woman touches him, forcing him to investigate while quietly preventing his supernatural partner from attacking the suspects. They identify Kurihara Nozomi, the confident CEO of a dating app company. She owns a vehicle similar to one seen near the crime and immediately takes interest in Atsushi. Her favor score rises quickly, but the emotion behind it feels more predatory than romantic. Kurihara reveals that the relevant car may actually belong to Chairman Kame. The connection opens a path into a much larger network of wealthy clients and hidden transactions. Atsushi allows her to believe she is seducing useful information out of him, while he is doing exactly the same to her. A confrontation involving Kame and his apparent son forces Atsushi to improvise. He uses names, favor values, and carefully timed confidence to survive questions that could expose him as an outsider. Yumeno watches him navigate the room with the effortless charm that first attracted her. Kurihara invites Atsushi upstairs in private. Sakura's number and expression make the danger obvious, but refusing would end the investigation. Atsushi accepts, promising Sakura with his eyes that the encounter is only work. Sakura follows, clearly prepared to decide for herself what counts as betrayal. As the elevator closes, Atsushi realizes the next step may require allowing Kurihara to believe she has complete control. He has manipulated affection his entire adult life, but doing it while a 100 million point yandere watches from nearby may be his most dangerous performance yet. Inside the hotel room, Kurihara drops the polite business persona. She tries to seduce Atsushi, offers access to money and influence, and quietly prepares to drug him. Atsushi recognizes the setup, yet he continues acting inexperienced, so she will reveal who is supporting her. The scene becomes increasingly intimate and uncomfortable as Kurihara tests how far she can push him. Atsushi keeps his attention on her hands, the drink, and the favor score above her head. Every flirtatious gesture is another piece of evidence rather than an invitation. An accomplice connected to Kurihara appears, confirming that the meeting was designed to trap and use Atsushi. Instead, he activates the counterplan. Sakura's possession ability and the information gathered at the party allow him to reverse the pressure before Kurihara understands what happened. Atsushi exposes Kurihara's affair, financial desperation, and connection to Kame's network. He offers her a choice between cooperation and complete ruin. The CEO, who believed she was manipulating an unemployed student, suddenly realizes he has been measuring every reaction from the beginning. Kurihara gives him the information he needs, but Sakura is furious that the woman touched him. Her jealousy explodes the moment the investigation is safe. Atsushi physically stops her and orders her not to attack Kurihara, reminding her that uncontrolled violence will destroy the future she claims to want. Sakura obeys, though her smile toward Kurihara promises that the mercy is temporary. Atsushi calms her with direct attention and a few carefully chosen words. The same manipulation that controls ordinary women barely restrains Sakura, yet even a small sign of affection from him can redirect her entire world. The information points toward Akazawa Mahiru, a former delinquent now working behind a major idol event. Atsushi finally has a concrete target connected to the murder vehicle. The investigation moves from wealthy parties to a public stage where Ruruna will unknowingly stand close to a suspected killer. Ruruna appears at a university idol event, excited to perform before a packed crowd. Atsushi attends under the excuse of supporting her, but his real objective is Akazawa Mahiru, the intimidating staff member whose modified car connects her to the murder investigation. Ruruna sees only a familiar face in the audience. Atsushi sees the next step toward the truth. Mahiru moves through rehearsals with the confidence of someone used to controlling a room. Her past as a delinquent makes the students nervous, yet she has built a respected position in the entertainment world. Atsushi watches how she reacts to the case and notices that her hostility spikes whenever the burned woman or the robbery is mentioned. The talk show begins, and Ruruna's bright performance briefly creates the ordinary summer atmosphere Atsushi has been missing. She jokes with him from the stage and clearly enjoys having him nearby. The moment is warm, but Atsushi cannot relax while a suspected murderer stands only a few meters away. During a break, Atsushi isolates Mahiru and confronts her with the photograph of the modified car. She immediately understands that he has connected her to the scene. Rather than panicking, she challenges him to explain what relationship an unemployed college student could possibly have with a 300 million yen robbery. Atsushi claims he can prove her involvement and prepares to use Sakura's mind-in as the final piece of evidence. Mahiru realizes he is not a police officer and decides she can eliminate him without creating an official record. The conversation turns from accusation to a fight for survival. Mahiru attacks with sudden violence, knocking Atsushi down and reaching for anything she can use as a weapon. He expected fear or negotiation, not someone willing to kill him in the middle of a crowded university event. His mind-eye gives him emotional information, but it cannot make his body faster than hers. Sakura intervenes the moment Mahiru insults and harms Atsushi. Her impossible number appears through another body, and the balance changes instantly. Mahiru may be dangerous, but she has never faced an enemy who considers pain, law, and even death irrelevant when protecting the man she loves. Mahiru escapes deeper into the building, leaving a trail that may lead to the evidence. Atsushi follows despite his injuries. Outside, thunder begins rolling over the event, and the cheerful idol show becomes the cover for a confrontation that could expose both the real murderer and Sakura's supernatural ability. The weather worsens, forcing the event staff to prepare for an early ending. Ruruna playfully asks Atsushi for a reward, and once again brings up marriage in front of Sakura's hidden presence. The romantic joke is harmless to everyone except the yandere listening nearby, whose jealousy is already strained by the investigation. Atsushi studies Mahiru's reactions and realizes that she was not acting alone. Her fear is directed toward someone beyond the police, a person who expects immediate responses and punishes disobedience. Mahiru is connected to the murder, but she is also terrified of the mastermind controlling her. They discover a message addressed to Takanashi, the name linked to the person Mahiru was trying to contact. Atsushi uses an emergency call and a carefully constructed lie to force the hidden partner to react. The plan depends on Sakura reading the target's emotions before they realize they are being tested. Atsushi claims that he has proof from the 300 million yen case and that the real criminal is present at the university. The bait works. The voice on the other end responds too quickly and reveals knowledge that an innocent person should not possess. He arranges for Yumeno to provide a photograph of the stolen money, making the threat believable. If the mastermind tries to recover the evidence, Atsushi can identify them. If they remain hidden, Mahiru may be abandoned and forced to confess. Either way, the invisible enemy finally has to move. After the immediate danger passes, Sakura asks for the reward she believes she earned. She does not want money or praise. She wants Atsushi to complete the marriage registration. His attempt to postpone the answer becomes another awkward negotiation as she presses close and reminds him that she has been extremely patient. Late that night, police arrive at the university after receiving a tip. Atsushi tries to leave before they can search the building, but officers notice suspicious movement around Mahiru's room. The investigation he tried to control begins slipping into official hands. Mahiru is found gravely wounded just as officers enter. The scene appears designed to make Atsushi and Sakura responsible. Someone has silenced a useful witness and placed the police close enough to catch the people investigating her. The mastermind is no longer merely hiding, they are actively cleaning the board. Atsushi is questioned about Mahiru's death and insists he did not kill her. Yamanushi tries to protect the arrangement they made, but a new investigator arrives, Detective Kusaba Ryu. Unlike Yamanushi, Kusaba has official authority, a search warrant, and no personal reason to play slowly. Kusaba calmly lists the connections surrounding Atsushi. He was present near Mahiru, associated with multiple women tied to the investigation, and repeatedly lied about Sakura. His polite manner makes the accusation more dangerous because he has enough evidence to act without needing a confession. The police search Atsushi's apartment. He remains outwardly composed while officers move toward the hidden money and every secret he failed to remove. Yamanuchi can delay procedures, but he cannot openly stop a lawful search without exposing his own corruption. Sakura is still inside the apartment and refuses to leave Atsushi alone. She changes bodies and appearances to confuse the officers, briefly turning the search into a surreal series of strangers and impossible movements. Atsushi must guide her without speaking openly while Kusaba watches every reaction. When an officer becomes violent, Sakura retaliates with enough force to transform suspicion into an emergency. Her devotion protects Atsushi from immediate arrest, yet it also creates the exact evidence the police need to classify everyone around him as dangerous. Kusaba notices that different people display the same unnatural attachment and expression. He cannot explain mind-in, but he understands that a single will is moving through multiple bodies. The supernatural truth is beginning to emerge through the pattern Sakura cannot hide. Atsushi and Sakura escape the first confrontation, but the police now have a clear image of both the target and the man connected to her. Yamanachi warns that the entire department will soon be involved. Their private game has become a manhunt. Police seal the building while Atsushi searches for an exit. Sakura offers to possess an officer and force a path through, but every new body increases the chance that innocent people will be injured. Atsushi orders her to use only enough violence to escape, a restriction she follows with visible disappointment. Sakura takes control of a female officer and turns the police line against itself. Her enormous favor score appears behind an unfamiliar face, confirming to Atsushi that she can reach him through almost anyone. The officers see a colleague suddenly protecting a suspect and have no way to understand why. A gun is drawn, and the escape becomes chaotic. Atsushi is knocked down while Sakura disables the people blocking them. He tries to stop her from killing anyone, but panic and gunfire leave almost no room for restraint. They reach a vehicle and break through the police perimeter. Kusaba orders units to pursue, while Yamanouchi secretly creates gaps in the response. Atsushi has now crossed the line from suspicious witness to nationally wanted fugitive. Inside the car, Sakura is delighted that they are finally running away together. She treats the chase like an elopement and imagines a life where no other women or laws can interfere. Atsushi sees only how completely his paradise has collapsed. Sakura suggests making every officer and rival disappear. The proposal is sincere and frighteningly practical to her. Atsushi refuses, explaining that a life built on endless bodies would never become the happiness she wants. For a brief moment, Sakura looks less angry than hurt. Using mind-in repeatedly exhausts Sakura. Her borrowed body begins failing, and she is forced to separate from Atsushi before the search closes in. He tries to find her again, but the impossible number vanishes from sight. Alone and surrounded by police reports naming him as a murderer and accomplice, Atsushi begins life on the run. The women who supported him are under surveillance, his home is lost, and even Sakura has disappeared. The paradise he built by reading other people's hearts has finally left him with no one. Before everything fell apart, the group once shared a summer trip to the sea. Amai nervously chose a swimsuit, Ruruna competed for Atsushi's attention, and Yumeno arrived with enough confidence to make everyone else suddenly self-conscious. Atsushi tried to enjoy the view without letting any one woman's favor score expose where he was looking. A quiet moment in the water becomes unexpectedly intimate when Emi drifts close and admits that being unable to touch the bottom makes her heart race. Atsushi starts to answer seriously before both realize the current is carrying them away, turning romance into frantic embarrassment. Yumeno's playful entrance restarts the competition, while Ruruna complains loudly enough for the entire beach to hear. The women may not know the full truth about one another, but each instinctively senses she is not the only person trying to become Atsushi's favorite. The memory ends with Sakura imagining the same beach in a far darker way. Every rival removed and Atsushi looking only at her. What was a harmless summer fantasy for the others becomes another reminder that Sakura's dream of exclusive love has no room for anyone else to remain alive. Mahiru's memorial is held while police publicly name Atsushi as the prime suspect. His face appears across television and social media, and reports claim he escaped custody after murdering a woman connected to the idol industry. The story spreads faster than any truth he could offer. Atsushi moves through the rain with almost no money, unable to contact Emi, Yumeno, or Ruruna without leading police to them. The same man who once lived comfortably through several relationships now survives on whatever he can carry under a cheap raincoat. Hunger forces him to search abandoned food and hide among people who will not ask questions. He is disgusted by how quickly his standards collapse, yet the humiliation also exposes how dependent he had become. Without favor numbers to exploit safely, Atsushi has almost no idea how to live. A ruined meal reminds him of Sakura's terrible childhood cooking. She once offered him a misshapen bento and smiled as though sharing it made the taste irrelevant. The memory hurts because her affection, however dangerous, was one of the few things in his life that never depended on what he could provide. Atsushi reflects on why he created his paradise of women and numbers. As a child, he was terrified of negative emotions and rejection. The mind-eye allowed him to avoid every person who might hurt him and cling only to those whose scores promised safety. News coverage begins attacking Yumeno for financially supporting a suspected murderer. Her reputation and work suffer because of him. Atsushi realizes that remaining hidden will not protect the women. The longer he runs, the more the public and police will punish anyone connected to his name. Ruruna is asked to distance herself publicly from Atsushi and Mahiru. Despite the danger to her career, she wants to contact him and learn the truth. Her loyalty gives Atsushi one possible path back, but reaching her could also destroy the life she worked to build. After more than a week on the run, Atsushi returns to Tokyo during a typhoon. He cannot approach any of his girlfriends because police are watching them. Instead, he seeks help from the one organization capable of communicating without normal phones, the Saruta Yakuza group connected to Yumeno. Atsushi enters the Saruta office and introduces himself as the man who has been living from Yumeno's money. It is the worst possible identity to reveal. The gang members have already been ordered to bury anyone who humiliates the boss's daughter. They beat him and prepare to make him disappear before police can notice. Atsushi tries to explain that officers are watching the building, but the threat only convinces them to work faster. His mind eye shows fear and murderous intent everywhere, with no friendly number to exploit. The violence stops when the boss returns. Saruta Kanzo, Yumeno's father, is a smiling older man whose calm presence terrifies everyone in the room. Atsushi immediately understands that the true danger is not the loud gangsters, but the man they obey without hesitation. Kanzu handles another captive in front of Atsushi, demonstrating how simply he can order pain or death. He asks whether Atsushi is happy with the money and women he has taken. The question sounds casual, but the wrong answer could decide whether Atsushi leaves the building alive. A prisoner dies before providing the information Kanzu wants, and the boss orders the body removed as though clearing a table. Atsushi watches the favor numbers and realizes Kanzu values people only according to the profit or happiness they can produce. Kanzu finally orders Atsushi into a car. He says they are going for a drive and will meet Yumeno. Atsushi cannot tell whether the invitation is help, execution, or both. The boss's pleasant smile never changes enough for the mind eye to explain his real intention. During the drive, Kanzu asks directly about the murder and stolen money. Atsushi admits the situation looks impossible but insists he did not kill Mihiru or the bank employee. Kanzu is less interested in innocence than in whether Atsushi has brought danger and shame to Yumeno. They stop beside the coast during the storm. Kanzu pours a drink, then tells Atsushi to go swimming. The request is an execution disguised as a test. In the violent water, nobody would question the death of an exhausted fugitive. Kanzu says there is no value in keeping Atsushi alive if he cannot protect Yumeno or recover the money. He orders him to die smiling, as though gratitude is the final payment expected from a man who enjoyed his daughter's support. Atsushi refuses to surrender. He reveals that Yumeno is hiding the stolen 300 million yen, and that only he can persuade her to surrender it. The claim changes his value instantly. Killing him now could cost Kanzo a fortune and expose Yumeno to arrest. Atsushi also understands the painful relationship between Yumeno and her father. After losing her mother, she entered the nightlife business partly to oppose Kanzu and prove she could survive without becoming his obedient daughter. Money is the language both use instead of affection. Yumeno is brought to him. Bruised and soaked, Atsushi tells her he is not the murderer. She listens without interrupting, then reveals that Umichi already contacted her and that her father planned to kill Atsushi if he could not prove his value. Atsushi proposes a deal. Use the stolen money to secure protection and expose the true criminal. Yumeno treats his wounds and gives him access to a burner phone. Her faith has survived the scandal, but the number above her head cannot hide how deeply he has hurt her. Atsushi wakes in a Saruta condominium after collapsing from exhaustion. Yumeno has stripped his wet clothing, shared the room, and turned the morning into the kind of teasing domestic scene they once enjoyed. The familiarity is comforting until he remembers that armed gangsters and a murder investigation are waiting outside. Umichi delivers the burner phone along with Kanzu's warning. If Atsushi cannot prove his innocence, personal loyalty will not save him. The mind-eye scale beside Umichi shows that trust is conditional and can fall from friendship to murder with a single failure. Atsushi contacts Ruruna using an emoji and phrase only she would recognize. He knows police and management are monitoring ordinary communication, so the message must look meaningless to everyone else. Ruruna agrees to meet because she still needs to hear the truth directly from him. At the meeting, Ruruna admits she was terrified after Mihiru disappeared. Atsushi finally confesses that the university event was an investigation and that he used Ruruna's access to approach the suspect. Her favor score drops as she realizes even their happiest moment was partly calculated. Ruruna demands to know why he never trusted her enough to explain. Atsushi has no answer that can erase the pain. He insists he is not the murderer and asks for help finding the person who is. But for once, he does not disguise the fact that he used her. Police suddenly approach the meeting place. Atsushi and Ruruna hide close together, creating a tense and awkward silence while officers pass only meters away. The physical closeness would once have felt romantic. Now it is mixed with fear, guilt, and the knowledge that she may never forgive him. Ruruna decides to listen to everything. She tells Atsushi that if this is the last time they meet, she wants no more half-truths. He begins recounting Sakura, the robberies, the other women, and every lie connecting them. Atsushi and Ruruna walk together while he explains how Sakura returned and how the investigation turned him into a fugitive. Ruruna holds his hand out of habit, but her expression is no longer carefree. Every new fact reveals another part of his life from which she was deliberately excluded. She asks whether Sakura is the girl he truly loves. Atsushi cannot answer. He understands desire, dependence, fear, and favor values. But he has spent so long measuring emotions that he no longer knows what his own love should feel like. Atsushi remembers how Ruruna threw herself into idol work. She loved performing, loved her fans, and could become excited about things without calculating what they would return. Her openness made him jealous because she possessed the ability to care that he had lost. Ruruna realizes she was not only being used, she was also the person Atsushi admired from a distance. The confession does not repair the betrayal, but it gives their relationship a truth it never had before. She tells him she cannot continue loving him in the same way. Their farewell becomes painfully awkward. Ruruna jokes that it feels as though she has been rejected even though she is the one stepping away. Atsushi does not stop her. For the first time, he accepts the loss of a high favor score instead of manipulating it back upward. After Ruruna leaves, Yamanouchi contacts Atsushi with new evidence. Hidden audio from Mahiru's final confrontation captured the voice of someone connected to Sakura's possession. The recording may identify the true criminal, but it also proves that police inside the investigation have been leaking information. Atsushi gives the evidence to Yamanouchi and asks him to trace anyone obstructing the case. Their partnership becomes voluntary for the first time. Both men now understand that a larger enemy has been using officers, journalists, and entertainers to keep the truth buried. The investigation produces two names, the journalist Misono Miyoki and the famous actor Honju Yukiya. To the public, Yukiya is a beloved star. To Atsushi, he may be the person standing at the center of the murder, Sakura's disappearance, and every attempt to frame him. Honju Yukiya appears at an advanced screening for his new drama, playing a prosecutor obsessed with justice. Reporters praise how naturally he portrays a man who will do anything to punish criminals. Atsushi watches the coverage and sees a perfect public image hiding someone he cannot yet reach. While Atsushi studies the target, Yumeno tries to pull him out of his obsession. She appears in new lingerie and offers an intentionally distracting massage, teasing him for becoming too tense to notice anything around him. The fan service briefly works, but a message from Yamanouchi returns his attention to the case. Yamanouchi has identified a corrupt officer named Motoshina, who leaked search information to a freelance entertainment journalist. That journalist is Misono Miyuki, a woman connected to Yukiya. The same network that framed Atsushi has been receiving information directly from police. Sakura awakens in an unfamiliar room with Misono watching her. She has been separated from Atsushi and cannot remember how she arrived. Misono questions her about Mind In and the relationship she has with the wanted fugitive. When Sakura refuses to cooperate, Misono begins threatening her with calculated cruelty. She chooses the ring finger first, mocking Sakura's claim to be Atashi's wife. The threat is designed to turn romantic devotion into panic. Sakura attempts Mind In, but Misono has prepared for it. Eye contact becomes a weapon both women understand, and the room turns into a battle over who controls which body. Sakura escapes the immediate torture, though not without revealing more of her ability than she intended. Misono reports to Yukiya, who treats the failed interrogation as a temporary inconvenience. He orders her to recover Sakura because her power is essential to the larger plan. The actor's calm response confirms he understands Mind In far better than an ordinary outsider should. Evidence from the truck driver and other witnesses suggests several people involved in the case remember nothing after encountering Sakura. Atsushi realizes possession has been used not only by Sakura to protect him, but by someone else to manufacture crimes and erase responsibility. Misono continues searching for Sakura and threatens anyone who might help her. She has become fascinated by Mind In, not because of its supernatural mystery, but because controlling another person's body could make murder, blackmail, and escape almost effortless. Sakura reaches Keio University in a dirty white dress and finds Emi. She cannot safely return to her original body, so she asks for shelter and information about Atsushi. Emi recognizes the girl's name from everything Atsushi finally confessed and reluctantly brings her inside. The situation becomes awkward when Sakura changes clothing in front of Emi with no sense of ordinary boundaries. Emi is embarrassed and suspicious, while Sakura studies the apartment as another place connected to her beloved. Even when vulnerable, she cannot stop comparing herself with the woman Atsushi once protected. Police arrive near the building after receiving information about Sakura's location. Emi hides her in a bag and tries to walk past the officers. Sakura is amused by how far a supposed rival will go for Atsushi's sake, while Emi is terrified that one mistake will make her an accomplice to a national fugitive. Once inside, Sakura explains Mind In. Eye contact lets her seize another body, but a person with hidden or obstructed eyes can resist. The revelation is overheard by Misono, who has followed them and now understands the exact weakness needed to capture Sakura. Misono enters wearing glasses and uses psychological pressure instead of possession. She claims she is interested in Sakura's ability and promises to leave Atsushi alone if Sakura cooperates. The offer is obviously false, Yet it gives Sakura a chance to learn what the enemy wants. The interrogation turns violent. Misono threatens to cut off Sakura's ring finger and later do the same to Atsushi so their hands will match. Sakura recognizes another person whose cruelty is driven by devotion, but Misono's love is directed toward Yukiya, rather than toward the man she is torturing. Sakura attacks despite the glasses, forcing Misono into a desperate struggle. Furniture breaks, weapons change hands, and both women attempt to use Emi's body as leverage. The fight proves that Mind-In is powerful but not invincible when an opponent has prepared for it. Sakura gains the advantage and announces that she will bring Misono's corpse to Atsushi as a gift. In her mind, killing the enemy and receiving his praise are the same happy ending. The enormous number above her head makes the threat feel less like anger than celebration. A childhood memory connects Emi and Ruruna to Atsushi. Years earlier at an amusement park, the girls briefly encountered the same lonely boy, without understanding how their lives would later collide around him. The memory emphasizes how many relationships Atsushi reduced to numbers after they began as simple human kindness. Sakura's attempt to finish Misono is interrupted by another controlled body. The enemy has learned enough about Mind-In to create confusion between attacker, victim, and witness. Sakura can no longer trust that the face in front of her belongs to the person speaking. The fight moves through the apartment as Sakura tries to protect Emi while hunting Misono. Her possessiveness remains, but she refuses to let a rival be used as disposable bait. As she once explained to Yamanouchi, hurting the women around Atsushi is another way of hurting him. Detective Kurame arrives with armed officers and treats everyone inside as a threat. He is one of the investigators tied to the hidden network and has no intention of allowing Sakura or Misono to explain what happened. A gun makes the supernatural battle suddenly vulnerable to ordinary violence. Kurame prepares to shoot, claiming he is ending the danger. Sakura changes bodies at the final moment, while Emi and Misono struggle to understand who is controlling whom. The police see only chaotic suspects and use that confusion to justify force. A vehicle crashes into the confrontation, giving Atsushi's allies an opportunity to escape. The collision is reckless, but it breaks the police formation before Kurame can complete the cover-up. Atsushi is still absent, yet the network of people he manipulated is now acting to protect him on its own. The aftermath leaves blood, broken bodies, and contradictory testimony. Kurame attempts to label Sakura responsible for everything. Detective Kusaba begins doubting the official story because the evidence looks too convenient and too many witnesses have missing memories. Atsushi launches a public video accusing the true criminal. He announces that a girl has been taken hostage and gives the mastermind a deadline. He openly states that he is a fugitive but not a killer, betting that public attention will make it harder for police and Yukiya's people to erase Sakura quietly. He promises to reveal the criminal's name if Sakura is not released. The video is less a confession than a declaration of war. Atsushi has spent the entire story hiding behind private manipulation. Now he forces millions of strangers to watch the game. The accusation spreads across television and social media. Commentators debate whether Atsushi is a murderer, a hostage negotiator, or a desperate liar. Police officials publicly dismiss the video while privately panicking over the evidence he may possess. Atsushi remains hidden with Yumeno and his remaining allies. He knows the public spectacle gives them only temporary protection. If he cannot identify the mastermind before the deadline, Sakura will disappear, and the entire accusation will be reframed as another performance by a killer. They confirm that Misono Miyuki helped manipulate evidence and capture Sakura. Her reward was access to Yukiya and the illusion that she held a special place in his plan. Like Atsushi's own supporters, she built her life around a man who understood exactly how to use devotion. Yamanouchi confronts investigators inside the department and learns how deeply the leak runs. Kurame and other officers have been steering the case toward Atsushi from the beginning. Kusaba begins separating the evidence produced by police from the evidence police tried to bury. The confrontation turns violent when Yamanouchi refuses to cooperate. He is beaten and threatened, but his hidden recordings preserve enough of the conversation to expose the cover-up. The reckless detective who once tormented Atsushi now risks his life to prove the same system manipulated both of them. Atsushi receives another message from inside Yukiya's organization. The building where Sakura is held has private security, loyal women, and connections capable of moving police checkpoints. Entering it will require more than mind-eye. He will need every ally he has not already driven away. Kusaba chooses to follow Yamanouchi's evidence rather than the official accusation. He still intends to arrest Atsushi for the robberies and escape, but he no longer accepts that the fugitive committed the murders. Justice and personal revenge finally become separate questions. The first person to understand the game from beginning to end will win. Atsushi and Yukiya have both built networks of people whose affection can be converted into power. The difference is that Atsushi's network is beginning to act by choice, while Yukiya's followers are controlled through fear, obsession, and possession. Atsushi studies the area around Yukiya's private lounge. Police checkpoints surround the district, and plainclothes officers watch every entrance. The building itself accepts only members and has security connected to a criminal organization. A direct approach would end before he reached the lobby. Yamanouchi and Kusaba provide information about patrol routes, while Yamano uses her father's underworld contacts to obtain access. The plan is an uneasy alliance between a wanted fugitive, compromised detectives, an idol, a hostess, and the Yakuza. Atsushi records a fake live stream from a different day and location. When it airs, police believe he is broadcasting from Chuo and move units away from the true target. His experience producing university events becomes the key to manipulating an entire investigation. The pre-recorded video appears online with a visible city background, and the deception works. Officers rush toward the false location, creating a temporary gap around the building. Kusaba notices differences in light and timing, but other commanders are too eager to capture Atsushi to listen. Sarita Kanzo agrees to provide vehicles and men, but only if the operation remains profitable and the gang can deny involvement. He reminds Atsushi that support is not friendship. If the plan fails, the Yakuza will abandon him immediately. The convoy approaches a checkpoint disguised as a protection money collection. For several tense seconds, officers search the vehicles while Atsushi hides close enough to hear them. One suspicious look could end the rescue before it begins. Ruruna unexpectedly appears when police begin closing the gap. She has left house arrest and followed Yumeno's information because she refuses to let Atsushi face everything alone. Her presence draws attention away from the vehicle and gives him a path forward. Ruruna blocks the officers and tells Atsushi to go. She no longer expects to become his number one, yet she still believes he will save Sakura and expose the truth. The choice proves that her help is not the product of manipulation anymore. Atsushi reaches Yukiya's building while the police realize the live stream was fake. The trap is exposed, but the delay is enough. He enters the final stage with no safe exit and only one objective: find the impossible favor number hidden somewhere inside. To enter the lounge, Atsushi uses Yumeno's knowledge of the nightlife business and the Saruta Group's reputation. He disguises himself as staff serving a powerful customer, knowing that security will respect money and criminal authority more than an unfamiliar face. Yumeno has already entered as a trainee hostess. She gives Atsushi a uniform and quietly explains the building's layout. The reunion is brief but intimate. After everything he has put her through, she still stands close enough to adjust his clothing and send him toward danger. Private guards known by their red badges control access to the lower floors. Atsushi uses the mind eye to distinguish suspicion from routine annoyance and passes each inspection at the moment the guards are least interested in him. A woman inside the organization offers to guide him toward Sakura. She is another person Yukiya has used and discarded, but Atsushi cannot immediately trust her. Every employee in the building may be a willing follower, a frightened hostage, or a body controlled through mind-in. At the same time, Detective Kurame corners Emi and tries to use her as bait. He tells her Atsushi is running toward another woman and claims helping him will only produce more victims. Emi refuses to believe the same police force that lied throughout the case. Atsushi reaches the third-floor VIP area and senses Sakura nearby. The number is faint and appears through the wrong person, suggesting she is trapped inside another body or being suppressed. He follows it deeper even when his guide tells him to turn back. Yumeno's allies punish the guards who attempted to exploit the Saruta group, creating a distraction in the lounge. Ruruna and Emi are pushed away from the immediate danger, but their actions have opened the path Atsushi needs. A woman suddenly attacks him from close range. The body appears unfamiliar, yet the emotion inside it is connected to Sakura and Yukiya. Atsushi is forced to decide whether striking back will save Sakura or injure the person she has been placed inside. By the time Atsushi reaches the room, his allies have been separated and the building is closing around him. Yukiya believes every woman connected to Atsushi has been neutralized. The final confrontation begins with Atsushi apparently alone. Kurame captures Atsushi and mocks him over Sakura's condition. The detective believes the rescue has failed and prepares to arrest or kill him before the public deadline. Atsushi remains calm because another part of his plan is already moving outside the building. A scheduled press conference begins. Evidence and messages are released automatically, preventing the police from burying the story by simply taking Atsushi's phone. Reporters are told that the official Minato Ward case combined unrelated robberies and murders. Kurame realizes the worst details of the cover-up are about to become public. His own recordings, leaks, and actions can be traced. The man who treated suspects as disposable pieces begins panicking when he becomes the person whose malice everyone can see. Honju Yukiya appears before cameras with his familiar calm expression. The beloved actor presents himself as another victim of Atsushi's accusations, then begins telling a carefully controlled story about the woman he loved and the crimes supposedly committed around her. The story reveals a dead fiancé and a twisted desire to preserve an ideal world. Yukiya claims he killed to protect love and remove people who threatened that paradise. His confession is emotional enough to attract sympathy, while still redirecting responsibility toward Sakura and Atsushi. Yamanouchi and Kusaba interrupt the police response with evidence that contradicts Yukiya's version. The murder weapon, hidden audio, and manipulated witnesses show that officers and journalists were used to manufacture the case against Atsushi. Kurame attempts to escape and destroy the remaining proof. He is stopped by the same detectives he once controlled. The institutional shield around Yukiya begins collapsing, but the actor himself remains inside the building with Sakura. Atsushi finally stands face to face with Yukiya. His mind eye sees something impossible inside the actor. The same overwhelming number that belongs to Sakura. The girl he came to rescue is not simply being held nearby. Part of her is inside the enemy. Yukiya explains the paradise he created around himself. Beautiful women, loyal employees, and admirers filled every room, all convinced that serving him was happiness. He used charm, fear, and supernatural possession to make a world where no one could reject him. Atsushi demands to know why Sakura is still alive inside him. Yukiya is surprised he can detect her. The mind eye, which Atsushi once used only to exploit affection, now allows him to recognize Sakura no matter which face or body hides her. The truth reaches back to the childhood accident. Sakura was struck and left horribly injured, but she did not die immediately. Yukiya found her and discovered Mind In. Her desperate wish to return to Atsushi became the power he later learned to exploit. Sakura moved through other people while searching for Atsushi, gradually losing the boundary between her original body and the bodies she borrowed. Yukiya encouraged the process because her ability could remove witnesses, control followers, and create the perfect public image around him. Atsushi calls directly to Sakura inside Yukiya. She responds, but the actor attempts to suppress her and seize control again. The confrontation becomes a battle of identity. Yukiya insists she belongs to the paradise he created, while Atsushi reminds her of the promise beneath the cherry tree. Sakura finally emerges and clings to Atsushi, terrified that he will reject what she has become. She knows her crimes, body changes, and obsession have destroyed lives. Atsushi does not excuse any of it, but he recognizes her immediately and says her name. Yukiya orders his remaining followers to attack. Women who once adored him move like weapons, showing how thoroughly he converted affection into control. Atsushi sees the same ugliness in his own former paradise, and understands what he might have become if nobody had ever resisted him. Police finally enter as Yukiya's crimes are exposed publicly. The actor loses the audience, authority, and controlled bodies that protected him. His favor values collapse into open malice, and the perfect hero shown on television is replaced by a frightened man surrounded by evidence. Atsushi leaves the building with Sakura, while Yukiya is taken into custody. The rescue is successful, but Sakura's condition is unstable and her original body has been damaged for years. Their victory cannot restore the childhood future she spent her entire life chasing. Half a year passes. The case has separated everyone who once formed Atsushi's paradise. Yumeno returns to work. Ruruna rebuilds her idol career, and Emi attempts to resume university life. Their relationships with Atsushi remain complicated, but none of them is controlled by his numbers anymore. The corrupt officers and accomplices face trials, while Yukiya's carefully protected reputation disintegrates. Media coverage shifts from Atsushi's supposed murders to the network that framed him. Even so, Atsushi must answer for the robberies, escape, and manipulation in which he participated. Yamanouchi is released after cooperating with the investigation. He jokes about the punishment he survived, though both men know how much damage their private games caused. For once, the detective provides information without demanding a secret price. Atsushi learns that his former supporters helped settle the remaining money and legal consequences. He no longer has the effortless life their affection once purchased. The loss feels frightening, but it is also the first life he may be able to call his own. Yamanouchi finally locates the place connected to Sakura's past, an old foster home near Yamahaturu, where the childhood promise was made. Sakura disappeared after Yukiya's arrest, and Atsushi has spent months searching for one more chance to meet her. He travels to the abandoned location alone. The cherry trees and empty building feel familiar despite the years. Atsushi knows Sakura may be dying, hiding, or waiting in another body, but he refuses to judge the decision by probability. A sudden attack leaves Atsushi injured before the reunion can happen. He manages to call an ambulance, clinging to consciousness with the thought that Sakura is close. Even after losing everything, the one emotion he can no longer calculate is the one keeping him alive. Atsushi awakens in a hospital with memory gaps from the attack. Yamanouchi visits and asks about a girl named Yokaze Sakura, who may be hospitalized nearby. The name immediately cuts through the confusion, and Atsushi leaves his room before doctors can stop him. He finds Sakura using another weakened body. Her favor number has fallen into deep negatives, and she attacks him in panic, insisting that he remember the face she once had. The hatred is not truly directed at Atsushi. It is Sakura's terror of being seen after everything that happened to her. Atsushi recognizes her anyway. The impossible score appears again for an instant, proving that no borrowed face can hide her from him. Sakura's violence stops, and the yandere who once terrified everyone becomes a frightened girl unable to believe he still came. Doctors refuse visitors because Sakura's condition is critical. Atsushi waits outside until a letter is delivered. The handwriting is childish and uneven, as though it was written by the girl beneath the cherry tree. rather than the woman who committed crimes to reach him. Sakura apologizes for the promise and explains that she spent years waiting to grow up and marry him. She was lonely, in pain, and terrified that the person he remembered no longer existed. Every borrowed body brought her closer to Atsushi while taking her farther from herself. The letter admits that she cried because she wanted to be married. She also says she does not want Atsushi to see her real body after the damage and years of possession. Her final request is not revenge or exclusivity. It is to be remembered as the girl who loved him. Atsushi reaches her room in time. Sakura asks whether destroying his paradise made him hate her. He answers that both of them changed, and that the person he became needed that false paradise to be broken before he could understand anyone honestly. He tells Sakura that even after everything, she still loved him. Her devotion was violent and selfish, but it was also the first emotion he could never raise, lower, or manufacture. For the first time, Atsushi answers without checking a number. Atsushi calls Sakura beautiful and remains beside her as the cherry blossoms across the country bloom at the same time. 3 days later, the blossoms quietly scatter. Sakura dies after finally hearing the word she waited 15 years to receive. The following week, Atsushi meets Sakura's real mother and learns more about the illness and isolation that shaped her childhood. The conversation cannot repair the past, but it gives Sakura a history beyond the accident, the crimes, and the enormous number above her head. Atsushi has lost the mind-eye. He can no longer see favor or malice, and the relationships he maintained through numbers are over. Emi, Yumeno, and Ruruna continue their own lives, while he begins moving forward without knowing exactly what anyone feels. Years earlier, Sakura asked him to return beneath the blossoms in 15 years. The promise did not end with the marriage she imagined, but it changed Atsushi permanently. From now on, he will use his own eyes and feet instead of numbers, carrying Sakura's love as both a warning and a memory.